Hello students of class 11. Today once again we are going to revise the chapter Othello through the videos. We have already done it in online class, and this would be another revision for you. Let's go straight to the chapter. Long time ago in Venice, there was a rich senator who was known as Brabantio. He had a beautiful daughter, the gentle Desdemona. She was sought by various suitors, both of her clime and complexion, but she found none of her choice. The noble lady, who regarded the heart more than the appearance and complexion of man, had chosen the person of her affections, a Moor, a dark-complexioned nobleman, whom her father loved deeply and often invited to their mansion. The noble Moor, Othello, was a valiant soldier, and by his heroics in bloody wars against the Turks, he had been raised to the rank of the general and was highly esteemed and revered throughout the state. So, we find that the story begins with Brabantio. That is, Brabantio is a senator, and Brabantio's daughter is Desdemona. And Desdemona is a very beautiful and a young girl, and he's sought by various suitors. That is, there were many eligible bachelors who wanted to marry Desdemona, but Desdemona was not interested in them. That's why it says that both of a clime and complexion, that is, complexion means fair complexion, white complexion in that way, and clime in the sense of same race, or you can say same status in that way. So she rejected all the suitors of her same rank and status and of same complexion, and instead she chose a Moor. And Moor here is described as a dark complexioned nobleman. So there is a great contrast between the other suitors and this Othello, who is a Moor. Moor is a person belonging to a particular race. Now what else is there is that Desdemona, for her, what mattered more was the how the person was at heart more than the complexion of the person. Now, it was not that Brabantio was against Othello in any way, because Brabantio also loved Othello, and Othello also came to their palace very often. Now, who was Othello? Othello was a valiant soldier. Valiant is courageous soldier, and by his heroics, that is by his brave deeds, he had been promoted to a rank of a general, and he was highly respected. Okay, revered means respected throughout the state. Othello had been a great traveler, and Desdemona was all the more keen to listen to the stories of adventure that Othello recollected from his experiences in the battles, sieges, and encounters, the perils he had been exposed to, his hairbreadth escapes when he entered a breach or marched up to the mouth of a cannon, and how he had been captivated by the insolent army and sold as a slave, how he demeaned himself in that state and escaped. Desdemona listened with rapt attention to all these accounts, added to the narration of the strange things Othello had seen in foreign countries, the vast wilderness and the romantic caverns, the quarries, the rocks, the lofty mountains that touch the clouds, the savage nations, the cannibals who are man-eaters, and the anthropophagi in Africa, whose heads do grow beneath their shoulders. She would these stories enticed Desdemona so much that even if she was called for any household affairs, she would finish off her work with all haste and return to Othello with greedy ear to devour his discourse. At the end of his stories, Desdemona would always sigh and then thank him and wished that if he had a friend who had loved her, he had only to teach him how to tell his story, and that would woo her. Upon this hint, delivered not with more frankness than modesty and blushes, which Othello could not but understand, and he spoke more openly of his love, and thus gained the consent of the generous and gorgeous Lady Desdemona. So what is said over here is that Othello was a very, he traveled very widely. And since he was, he was a traveler, that's why he had met with a lot of adventures. And these stories of adventures interested Desdemona a lot. They were, since he was a general, since he fought many battles and was raised to the general of an army, so there were many battles, sieges, encounters with the enemy, perils means many dangerous situations, how he escaped from that, and hairbreadth escapes, that is, for just hair, how minute it is. So very, somehow he very minutely escaped these, and sometimes how the enemies misbehave. Insolent means misbehaved, showed very disrespectful behavior, and how he lowered himself. Okay, demeaned means lowered himself in dignity, and how he escaped from that. So all these things, all these adventures really interested Desdemona a lot, and she would listen to it with rapt attention. That is, she would be spellbound with it. And there were many others, how he would go in foreign countries, the vast wilderness, quarries is where, from where minerals are extracted, and sometimes cannibals is man-eaters, all these adventures he used to tell. And Desdemona would be very interested in that. Even if Desdemona had any work to do in between, she was called for any work, she would somehow come, she would somehow just finish off his work, finish off her work, and then once again come back and listen to the stories, because so we can understand how fascinating or his stories were, and to what extent Desdemona was fascinated by them. And at the end of the stories, she would be just moved to pity, how every time, how he escaped death. For that she would sigh, and she would be moved to pity. And indirectly she would say that, Othello, if you had a friend of yours who had fallen in love with me, that is, if a friend of Othello had fallen in love with Desdemona, all he had to do was to, all Othello had to do was to teach that friend how to tell a story, and that would woo her, that is, that would convince her to fall in love with that person. So indirectly, she expressed her love for Othello, and when Othello got this hint, he directly proposed Desdemona, and thereby, Desdemona agreed, and they got secretly married. So we stop here today. We'll do the rest of it in the next videos. Thank you.